Good evening and welcome to Sound Off. My name is Linda Kirker. I host the program and I appreciate that you joined us tonight. I want to encourage you as the show moves along. If you have a question or a comment, you're more than welcome to call up and we'd love to hear from you. And the first thing I want to mention tonight is that I want to be sure to thank all of our retired military and all of our active military for their service to our country. They're true patriots. They believe in this nation and they take risks, and we owe them a great debt of respect and gratitude. So thank you one and all, men and women in our armed services, all branches, and our wonderful Vermont National Guard. So just want them to know how much we appreciate them and all those who have served through the years. One of my husbands, I hate to say that, but he is now 95 and he lives in Maine, and he was a Marine as just a young man, 21 years old, at Iwo Jima, climbing up the rocky formations there. And so I'm really proud of him. We're still friends, which I believe in. And so anyway, he doesn't live in Vermont, so he won't hear this, but I'm just proud. So with that, I would like to introduce my guest. He's no stranger to the program. Welcome back, Don Tessier.
Well, thanks for having me.
You're welcome, as always.
I just want to correct something that you just said.
Oh, okay, please.
A Marine is always a Marine.
Once a Marine, always
a Marine. He was never. When you said that, he's still a Marine.
Okay. Yeah, I believe that.
No, it is true.
Yeah, he even co-authored a book about his experience there
Iwo Jima.
With another man who also was at Iwo Jima. Yeah. And I have the book, and I haven't finished reading it, and it's not in publication anymore, but I should see if I can get another one to lend out, maybe online somewhere. But so thank you for coming back, and yes, once a Marine, always a Marine. So Don, I wanted to start off with your about talking about the integrity of our voting system in this country. I made a list of the ways in Vermont that an individual can register to vote. Through the motor voter registration process, you go to register your vehicle, and they hand you a voter registration form. You can fill that out, and no one really asks you, to the best of my knowledge, at following a phone call to the Secretary of State's office. That no one asks you if you're a citizen of the country. There is a box to check on the form, and so that's totally up to you. But there's no verification by the state, to the best of my knowledge, following the phone call. The person I spoke with was a little evasive, I thought. But anyway, then there's same-day voter registration. You can actually walk into the polling place and ask for a registration form and fill that out on the spot. But who can check? Who can verify anything about you? That bothers me. And then we have online voting, and to be honest, I'm not quite sure how that works. Obviously, you get online and you go to the
Secretary
of State's office and register online. And I'm assuming that if you do it early enough, that form or some contact is made with your town clerk. But it all seems to be like loose ends for me. Also, I sent a letter to our governor after he was elected regarding our wonderful college students who come from other states. We're happy to have them attending college in Vermont. However, there's a possibility, I'm not saying they would do this, but there's a possibility that they could absentee vote through their home town clerk and possibly vote here as well. And I think that there needs to be a process, and I recommended this to the governor, whereby there's a process for you to have to indicate which way you're going to vote. And then if you're going to vote in Vermont, which under Bernie Sanders, that was made legal, I believe, in Burlington, that you would have to fill out a form with your local town or your distant town clerk and let that form be sent back to either the Burlington, let's say, town clerk, where you could possibly vote, or from the Burlington town clerk to your hometown in another state, so that they know that you can't vote in two places.
Right.
And then we have absentee ballots, so you can mail that in. There are just so many ways, and I think it's good that people have opportunities to register to vote or to vote. But it needs to be infallible. It needs to be ensuring that all the votes and all the voters are legitimate citizens of the USA and that they are not double voting in any way, shape, or form. Because voting by U.S. citizens is not only a civic duty, but it's a precious right of citizenship. And the integrity of our electoral process is threatened by those who think voting is just another form of entitlement. We need people in the U.S. who respect our founding principles. Our American culture is important versus multiculturalism.
Right.
So I've had my say on that. What say you on that or another topic?
Well, I've been watching a little bit of TV news. And one of the biggest things that come up when we talk about students, our students, and I noticed that you're going to have your camp again.
Yes,
right?
Liberty Camp.
Liberty Camp.
Yes.
It should be mandatory for every high school student before they graduate that they must study U.S. history.
Oh, absolutely.
All right?
Absolutely.
And today, youngsters, they don't have a clue what's going on. They don't know what went on during the Civil War. They didn't know what went on with the Revolutionary War, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, okay, and all these places. They need to know what's going on, but they don't have a clue what's going on. And when you talk about this voting stuff, I'm right with you on that, because that's why Chittenden County kicks the stuff out of everybody, because the college students can vote there. And like you said, we have 626,000 people. In 2016, less than 300,000 people voted. And I would bet you, and I probably should have asked them how many were in Chittenden County votes. So I might call Secretary of State back and ask that question again, so you can see where we're allowing other people who don't live here to govern what we're going to go through with the people that they're going to be voting for.
The whole process just has to be tightened up, and we definitely need to have our legislature and our Senate vote to make sure that we have a voter ID, photo ID in the state of Vermont that has your address, your date of birth, whatever else, your photo, of course.
They should have to register with the town clerk's office to verify, to get on the list for the checklist. All right, but like you said, with the same day, they walk through. But I know Anna Borden, you might want to talk to her down the town school, city of St. Albans, the town of St. Albans. She's pretty sharp when it comes to that.
Do you know that when our legislature was working on voting bills, that the many town clerks objected to what they wanted to do, but they didn't pay one bit of attention. How disrespectful is that?
Right.
The town clerks have a responsibility.
No, they have a duty
Exactly.
to uphold the laws.
Yes, but if the laws don't create a system whereby they can be clear that people who are registering and voting are legitimate, then that's a disservice to them.
Well, they're elected officials.
Yes.
So the people here, what we need to do is find these people and vote them, get them voted out of office, and people who are going to uphold the law.
Amen.
I mean, if you sit back and don't do anything, but just cry foul, we need to identify who they are and tell. We can find somebody who will uphold the law of the land, so we can unseat these people. It's going to take a little bit of time, but this is how the country was founded. If you look back to the 13 colonies, each colony had votes, and they all did certain things for the Constitution. One of the 13 of them, they got together and they said, okay, we'll do this, we'll do that. And that's what we need to do, is to set up. So the law was good for all those 13, and everybody abide by them. But right now what we're doing is we're not getting the people in there that are competent enough to uphold the law.
Or who genuinely believe in and respect the country, the laws that the founders of this country put together. We're happy to have people come to this country legally. And this leads into another topic that I was going to get to, but unless you have something more to say on this.
No, I'm pretty much on that, but when you talk about these people who came here years and years ago through Ellis Island, assimilated into the country and did things for the country. What's happening now, people are coming here
to take,
all right, and they're not giving back. And if you don't watch
not all, but many.
If you don't watch it, there's people from the Middle East who want us to start acting like them. And if we allow them and keep electing them to office, this country will change. You and I would be dead before it ever happens, but our grandchildren and their children will probably
pay the
price.
Yep.
So we need to start paying attention here. There's a silent movement that we got to be watching out for.
Big time.
People might think that you and I are crazy for thinking that way, but if you listen to some of these people who are elected in Illinois and Minnesota to the Congress and listen to what they're talking about.
In New York, I think.
Right, in New York. And if you pay attention, it's silent, but it's like being in a poker game. They're throwing their cards on the table face up right now. It's telling us what we're going to do. And if we allow it to happen, dumb, we are.
We the people.
Right.
I've said this for years, Don, but one of the things that's so critically important that I try to tell people, and that is that you do not give someone your vote unless you clearly understand where they stand on the issues that are important to you.
Right.
And if you're a proud U.S. citizen, our country is not perfect. It's never been perfect, but it's the best thing out there.
It beats everybody else out.
You bet it does. And the only way that we're going to maintain the wonderful freedoms and opportunities that were given to us by the people who gave up so much, some of them their lives, their fortunes, to create this country. As you said to me before the show started, Don, these people came here to start a new nation. Why?
Because they did not like what England was doing to us.
Yes, government control of your life.
Right.
And that's another whole topic for later in the show, socialism.
Right.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people out there.
Excuse me.
And I think there's 23 or 24 Democrats running now, and probably half of them are believing in socialism, and they're telling the young people,
At least.
this is good. And if I had the money, I'd rent a plane, and I'd take these youngsters and send them to China, and I'd send them to Russia and say, look, why don't you spend 6 months over there and see if you think socialism is so good.
Exactly.
All right?
Exactly.
They haven't, most of the children today, this is why I talked about the U.S. history, should be mandatory. They haven't had the rough stuff. They don't know what rough is. We pampered them too much, in my opinion.
Well,
you can love them, but you have to make them understand that it's not a free ride.
this is another whole topic, and that's parenting in the USA today. I know, folks, that there are some wonderful parents out there, and you're not the ones I'm speaking to or about.
Right.
However, there are also children who are living in circumstances where maybe there's one parent, and that doesn't mean you can't be a good parent. I was a single parent for a couple of years, and so I know you can still do your job as a parent, even though you're stressed out. It's harder.
Right.
But our children need rules. They need high expectations. They need to have a job that's suitable for their age at home. I always had jobs to do I've said this many times, forgive me, folks, but from the time I was this high, I had a little job to do.
You had chores.
Absolutely.
And that's how you got your allowance.
Work, yes.
You know, you had to work to get it.
Yes, you learned work ethic and earning what you get in life. And the bigger you get, the bigger the jobs get. And then hopefully your allowance goes up a little. You know, I used to babysit when I got to be about 12 years old, 50 cents an hour. But that was then.
That was a lot of money back then. Yeah. Were they printing money back then?
No.
No, but you're right. I mean, the leadership that we have came up through the hard ways. All right, look at what happened in the 30s. People lost everything, but pulled their boots up, and strapped up, and we got up, we beat it, and here we are today. The economy's cooking along good. People are making money. Things are great right now. Unemployment's way down.
There are way more jobs open than there are people willing to work or able to work.
Well, every place I go, I see a sign.
We're hiring.
We're hiring. So, of course, I think in the state of Vermont right now, and I have to check on that, but I think our unemployment rate, it must be way down.
I don't know exactly what it is.
If anybody out there knows that, they appreciate it, call in and tell us. But I think because, I mean, these jobs, for example, it might not be what you want, but they're paying $12, $13, $14 an hour at like these fast food places until you can get something that you want. You have to start and work your way up.
Amen to that.
You know?
Earn your way up.
Right.
This idea, this concept.
That you're going to walk in and make $100,000 and you haven't contributed anything to the company. You got to show them your worth.
Exactly.
And go.
Exactly. That's my philosophy, 100%. You prove yourself, your value to your employer over time. You don't just walk in and get $15 an hour.
Yeah, what are you going to do
in
for
your
me?
first job? You know, you prove yourself and you make yourself indispensable, so to speak. And if, you know, I said this recently on the show, and that is that if you're employed at company XYZ and you've been there for 4 or 5 years and you're earning $15 an hour, I come in as a brand new employee to the company, maybe young person, and the government says the employer has to pay me $15 an hour. Mm-hmm. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to go to that employer and say, wait a minute, I'm a valuable employee. I'm an asset to your company. I've been here 5 years, and this new person is going to earn what I'm earning? I don't think so. So I want a raise.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's when government gets involved, and they shouldn't. I mean, I started working when I was about 12 years old. I had a paper route in the morning before I went to school.
Sure.
And then in the summertime, I had a business. I mowed lawn, grass.
Absolutely.
I had a push mower.
I
Right?
babysat and I worked on weekends at a Dutch bakery.
Yeah. So, I mean, you work your way up through life, all right?
Yes, and those experiences are invaluable.
Right.
So you talk for a minute because I'm getting a little hoarse.
Well, our delegation in Montpelier in Congress are against the wall. Did you read in the paper today what El Paso's done? The people of El Paso, Texas?
Did they vote?
No. They started putting the wall up themselves. The citizens all got together and got the money, and they're erecting it now. And guess what?
What?
They're doing it cheaper than the federal government can do it because some of those contracts that we signed on to weren't as good. The people in El Paso are putting it up. They want it. Go to
Of course they do.
You go to California, Arizona, New Mexico, and all those, all right, and Texas, and ask the citizens, do they want the wall? Yes. The people in Congress, all right, aren't listening. All right? And I can't see how those states, all right, because most of the states have more congressmen than we have. We only got one. They probably have 4 or 5. They should pick out those guys and vote them out of office.
You either do what the people who
want.
elected you
Not
want
what
to
you
do,
think
or
is good.
bye-bye.
It's not what you think is good. It's what the people out there in the field is good. That's what they want.
Right, but how often do you see an article in the paper from a member of our congressional delegation telling us how they voted on something or what they support? Rare.
That's right. You have to go to the website and look up how they voted. And I've done that a few places to find out how they vote. All right, just for giggles. All right. What they try to do is bring a little bit of bacon back home, so they say, "Oh, I'm a good guy." But all they're doing is giving back the money they took from us, and they think that's a big deal. But some people say, "Well, look how much bacon they bring back." Well,
Guess what? Many times it's money from the Social Security Trust Fund,
Yeah, right.
okay?
Yep.
That they've used. They've taken over $1 trillion out of that over the years. And then they're heroes when they bring back money to a community for a cause that they know the people want, so they come back and they cut the ribbon, and they're a hero, and their pictures in the paper. Little do the people realize that money was ours.
if he wants it to be put that way, to tell him to put his check out there, and then he can put his name on the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. You go to the hospital up here, and you see a lot of names on the wall. Those people contributed money.
Yes.
Their money.
I wonder how much money Leahy contributed to the Leahy Center down by the lake.
Echo Center?
Echo Center.
Yeah, I'd like to know too.
Yeah, that would be interesting. He's got his name up there. He probably brought money back from.
He did. It was federal money.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we paid
And when
for
Bernie
it.
talks about all this school stuff, that free education and health care.
Oh, yeah.
I'm happy with my health care, and I have been all my life happy with my health care. I don't want the federal government telling me what's good for me. So, and now Bernie's known as he's the 1% because he's got millions. And why didn't he start writing checks out and sending these kids? There was some guy, some millionaire, just for a black college, said he's writing a check for every one of those students. They took care of all their debt. Now that's a real American story. It's beautiful.
He was the graduation speaker, commencement speaker.
And he
yes.
said, "You're all taken care of. His money, not the federal money."
Yeah, his family and him. I don't know what business they're in, but yes. Now what that's going to do is make all the other college students want the same thing, which Bernie the socialist, And socialism is basically communism, as far as I'm
yes,
concerned.
it is. It is. I mean,
It's government control of everything.
we ought to send these people who think it's so great to Cuba.
It's not just Cuba.
Yeah, but Cuba right now, the people are starving to death. All right? They don't have food to eat. Venezuela, socialism, right? So
Used
if they
to
think
be.
it's so good, why don't they pack their bags and head out?
Well, they're waiting for Bernie to
They're waiting- yeah.
provide it here. But, this Medicare for all is government-run health care, and who's going to pay for that?
Well, look how bad the VA was all screwed up, and that's health care for the vets.
That's the Obama
Right,
administration.
and it was all screwed up. We had veterans dying. Can you imagine?
Waiting a year for
Right.
an appointment.
And they keep saying Canada's got a good health.
Oh, no.
My friends that I know who have money in Montreal, when they have something serious, they come to the United States and pay. They don't go through the Canadian deal. Now, if you got a cold or something like that, maybe they do it. But the big stuff like hearts and stuff like that, they come to the United States. They don't hang around there. So if it's that good,
You have to wait a long time to even
if it's that
get-
good up in Canada, why are people coming to the United States? See, this is what we need to get out to the people.
I know.
What's happening is it looks good on paper until you put it to action. It's just not going to work.
I know. Medicare for all, government-run health care. Where's the free enterprise system in that?
Yeah, but look at these other countries, Sweden and all those other places. They're
Government.
They're government, and people aren't happy in those countries.
Because the government, in order to provide the free health care, so to speak, and probably other things, they take a huge amount of your earnings.
Oh, right, that's right. And they're
And-
going to do the same thing here.
Absolutely.
And you and I on Social Security, we got a deal because we paid into that all our lives. So you get your Social Security, and then you have to buy a supplement. So it's not like it's $5,000 a month or $1,000 a month.
Well, it's $1,500 a year taken out of your
Right.
Social Security, and then you have to buy a supplement, which is a few $1,000s a year. For
Well-
me, it is anyway.
Well, you probably got the Cadillac. I got the Ford. Mine's not as expensive. I have United Healthcare for my supplement.
I have Humana.
Okay, and they take good care of me. I had a lady come to my house a week or so ago, take my blood pressure, checked this for my urine for sugar,
No kidding.
and was talking, and she says, "I'm going to give 3 words to you, and I'm going to ask you, this pineapple, candle, and toy is what it was." She's checking to see if your memory's good. Okay, and we had a little conversation, and she's at healthcare, and so they actually paid me $15 to have her come to the house. They did. They gave me a debit card, and my biggest concern was sugar. All right, and when she said that, because I knew it was there, so I gave her a sample of my urine. She said, "You're good." I said, I know I'm pretty in good shape, but that one there, you don't really know
No,
until
you don't.
you test it. So when she did that, I go, "Phew, that's good. That's good."
And you got paid.
And I got paid. But the funny thing it is, they followed up with a survey and wanted to know how I felt about what she
they
did for
did?
me and stuff. So that's the kind of care I'm looking for. I'll pay my way and get to a company like them, and things are good.
Good. Well, that's a nice story to hear. But in terms of socialism, I just want the viewers to, for those who don't understand, it would be an elimination of private health insurance. You do not get to choose.
Who your doctor is.
Well, I don't know, probably not.
Nope.
But you don't get to choose. Oh, we have a caller. Caller, welcome to the program. Hello.
Good evening, Linda Kirker.
Hi there. I bet you agree with everything we just said.
No, I don't agree with everything you just said. but I will see you on the 30th.
Oh, good. Good. Come on in.
Well, I can't afford $125 a plate.
Oh, Bernie will pay your way.
Well, we have to do something to raise money. We have
Yeah, but you could have got a better speaker.
I was just about to say we have a great speaker. Well, we're not going to agree on that one, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that, but we should have about 200 to 300 union people picketing in front of the Hilton down there on the 30th.
They're wasting their time.
Well, you know,
What?
the Republican Party can raise all the money they want. It's just, the fact that he was a union buster in Wisconsin. That's one of the reasons why we're there.
I know.
Yeah.
I know why, but you know what? Sometimes you just have to get over things and move on.
Yeah,
What-
just
what-
like the people that were protesting at Frank Graham's thing over at the Essex Fairground.
Yeah, I never saw them. I have no idea.
I didn't go to because I had to work.
Yeah.
Why were they protesting that, do you think?
Religion.
Yeah, it is. It was about religion and something that Frank Graham came out with, and I can't remember what it was, but it was about, probably 30 to 40 people that were.
Yeah, it could have been.
protesting
It could have been abortion because that was a hot topic in the last few weeks. And so it could have been abortion that he was
You know
not
what?
in favor of. But that's his business, nobody else's business. And he doesn't control it. That's just his feeling. If the legislature controls it, these people boycotted the wrong man. They should have been down in Montpelier.
I never even saw them. I didn't hear them, the protesters. But I think that protesting is about not allowing someone else to have their own views. And we don't protest, do we?
No, because I
never
think,
have.
I mean, you want to make yourself known, but you don't want to interrupt anything and make a scene, and that's what's the problem there. I mean, you can stand out with some things like that, but when you start getting nasty and yelling things back and forth, that's not protesting.
No. Well, anyway,
Anyway.
they're going to do what they're going to do.
What else would you like to talk about?
Well, I think, Biden and Bernie would make a good team for us.
Oh, so Bernie's going to be vice president?
When did you?
I would think that, between Bernie and Biden, I think Biden would make a good president, in my opinion.
Oh my gosh! Have you heard his blunders? He can't even get a solid sentence out of his mouth. Anyway,
Which one are you talking about, Bernie or Biden?
Biden.
He's got some
but look at
some
Trump,
baggage he's got to clean up.
He craps on everybody that he doesn't like.
Yeah, but he's got some baggage he's got to clean up then when he was vice president that he did, and with his son. So once they find out what's going on, he's probably made a mistake by throwing his hat in the ring.
Well, if I were a Democrat, which I'm not, No, I think that's pretty clear. I would want myself to have a constitutional Democrat, somebody with a strong work ethic, somebody who believes in the founding of our country, who wants this country to be strong, and respect for religion, the Christian religion, and so forth. Those are all things that would be really important.
And protect the Constitution of the United States.
Oh, and strong military. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. But I don't know who that person would be in the Democratic Party. Do you?
Well, there's 25 of them, and that's,
There has to be one.
Probably 95% of them.
Well,
To be honest with you, if you just look back in the last 50 years, the people who are running for president on the Democratic side aren't the same caliber of people that ran for president in the last 50 years. So they need to get stronger people that are there. And I mean, Jimmy Carter, for example, all right, and Linda will probably kill me,
No, I'm not.
But
vicious.
I did vote for Jimmy Carter because I kind of liked what he was doing. Then I realized I made a mistake because he screwed up because he
Well,
wouldn't.
I know would have made a mistake by voting for Trump, so I
So-
can forgive her for that.
So when he didn't go into Iran and get our people out of the embassy until Reagan come along and said, if I'm elected president, I will take care of that. And before he was inaugurated, they released those people from our embassy there in Iran.
Do you think the President of the United States should have their taxes made public, whether it doesn't make a difference who it is, whether it's Obama, Trump, Bernie Sanders, or Biden? Do you think their taxes should be public?
Well,
I don't know.
They're going back here 8 years ago. We had a president who sealed everything that he had.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
his college grades and
Everything else. So, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And so, it's hard for me to say yes because most of the presidents, John F. Kennedy, everybody knew he had gazillions of dollars. Ronald Reagan, he had billions of dollars. And of course, the peanut farmer, he was a submarine guy. I don't know how much money he had.
Carter, yeah.
But I'm not going to get excited about things like that.
There are
At
too
this
many more
particular-
important things.
I'm concerned about the well-being of the United States of America.
The wall.
Right. And you heard what I just said about El Paso, Texas. The people down there are putting the wall up. I don't know if you saw that on the news or not today.
I saw it on Facebook.
Yeah, they're putting it up themselves. They said, we're not
That's
gonna,
good.
and it's the funny thing about
you
it.
guys will send at least $1,000 each, and that way you don't have to go to Scott Walker's dinner.
Yeah, well, the thing about it is, there's no judge that can say anything to them and say you can't put it up because it's on private land and it's public money.
Look, this is such a basic to me. It's about the safety and the security of the American people and our nation. And as a nation, there are so many nations around the world that have a wall or a border protection of some sort, and why we don't have one is beyond me, especially when we're being invaded. But and along the lines of people coming into this country, President Bill Clinton, when he was president, initiated an executive order, and it's 13166. It's an unlegislated multilingual policy that requires all government agencies like the IRS, the Social Security Administration, Immigration and Naturalization, the Department of Transportation, the Department of Justice, and others to print all documents in foreign languages and provide translators for non-English or limited English-speaking people. Whereas over 350 languages are spoken in the United States, making it impossible for all minority languages to be represented in such sectors as government, education, and healthcare. Government compliance with this far-fetched entitlement is costing American taxpayers and our economy billions of dollars, because even the most basic services like driver's license exams, election ballots, and IRS advice must be provided in multiple foreign languages.
I think if you want to live in the United States, you should be all in English.
I agree. This executive order is a government mandate that actively discourages immigrants from learning English and thus fully assimilating into our society. As a result of this multilingual mandate, English is rapidly disappearing as our common language, and more immigrants are residing in the U.S. who have no incentive to embrace our values or American way of life. Sorry. An overwhelming 87% of Americans, 87%, believe English should be made the official language of government. And this executive order is in direct opposition to this majority and undermines English as the common language that unites our nation, and instead promotes radical expansion of official multilingualism. 32 states have made English their official language, and it's time for Vermont and the United States to do the same thing. Amen.
I agree.
Well, in Vermont, for example,
Excuse me.
I can agree with you 100%. Most of the people back in the day when Vermont came from Canada, they spoke French, right? But they did learn English, and most of the families, they spoke French to their children.
Yes.
Okay.
That's fine at home.
And then they're bilingual. And that makes them even more valuable because they can be interpreters and they speak English. And they studied the English history.
Do you think, either one of you, do you think it should be all of the taxpayers' responsibility to provide English lessons, or should people who want to become employed in this country and be self-sufficient have to learn it
Themselves.
Right. As well as the family should be responsible for teaching their children before they get into school, so we wouldn't have all these ESL classes.
Right. If you go, all the major countries, all right. Like for example, there's a lot of Chinese people speak English, and we didn't have to pay for it. They did it because they wanted to. Just like
but I'm waiting for Trump to put up a wall up on the Canadian border.
Well, that should be next.
Well,
we'll make sure all the Republicans donate to it.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to listen, it sounds funny, but there are a lot of illegals coming through the northern border, through the Swanton sector.
Right.
Could I have a...
Yeah, well, I'll let you go. That way I can get my blood pressure up a little bit more.
Or get it down.
I'm glad we could help you in that area. But anyways, no, they just picked up a guy who was transporting 4 of them down in 91. And somebody was saying that they set up a block down in 91 by White River Junction area. Mm-hmm. And they said that they've been doing that for 15 years. Because I traveled down there and I seen them. They do pull them aside and they look where they are. They're all heading down to Massachusetts or someplace in New York. This guy was going to get $500 a person in there. Now he's going to do some jail time, and he'll probably deport those 4 people.
Well, you know what? Speaking earlier about our delegation in Washington from Vermont, Leahy and Welch, both, I don't know about Bernie, both were involved in sponsoring a bill. Let me think now, what was it? What were you just saying?
Immigration?
No, I just lost my train of thought.
No problem. It'll come back.
I'm trying not to cough. Oh dear, what was that? It was not good. What were you just talking about?
Oh, about the immigration, about the guards.
Oh, thank you. They both signed on to bills in their response.
To do away with the mandates.
The mileage.
Oh,
it
yeah.
used to be that people who were invading our country could be stopped within 100-mile range. Now they made it 25 miles.
Yeah.
So they're impinging on the ability of law enforcement to pick these people up.
And these guys should be voted out of office. That is crazy.
Absolutely.
They should be voted out of office because that's one thing about Trump. We ought to drop a few, like Donovan down, the Attorney General. He's all excited about that. He's waiting for Leahy to get out because he wants to be U.S. Senator. I think he's trying to build his reason. We ought to dump some illegals on his front door down in Montpelier. Say, here you go, buddy. But no, 100 miles. And one thing about it, at the end of Interstate 89, it's 113 miles. So they're just a little bit over, because they had a rest station there, because of the rest area there, and they had them there, and they stopped them, and they picked a lot of people up. Not just
They
Mexicans.
can't do that anymore.
They had Chinese. They had all kinds of good nationalities coming through there. So it's not just the Mexicans, but they had Chinese and other people.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't know. We need to know who comes to our country, all right. So in order to protect ourselves, and I think what we've been doing is allowing people a little bit too much latitude. They need to be drawn in a little bit.
Absolutely.
The communists tried to, back in the 50s, we had people go to meetings, imposters for the communists, because we felt that they might be trying to overtake our country.
Mm-hmm. Well, if we don't start standing up and letting our congressmen know what we want them to do, we want the border built.
Right.
We're not against people coming into this country. My grandparents came. I'm sure you have family.
I'll tell you a story. My mother's father and mother came from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was born in Alberg, Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So they came across the border. My grandfather worked for the railroad, then moved to Massachusetts, and that's where I was born.
But they all had a work ethic.
Right. So we've been having this here, but we welcome people like that to this country.
They weren't looking for a handout. They learned the language.
They were not
worked
trying
hard.
to hurt us either. That's the biggest thing. I'm not concerned about the handout. I'm concerned about what are they going to try to do. Well, that MS-13, right, I saw on television the other day, they just killed somebody again, and they finally caught the guy. I guess he killed 5 people. These are the kind of people that we don't want here.
Excuse me, exactly.
No, we want people who come here who, if you've ever been at a Thai restaurant in St. Albans, they've came here from overseas. They speak English. They have a beautiful business there.
Yeah.
The food is excellent.
Yeah.
All right. This is the kind of people who want to come here, who want to help build this country.
And who respect.
And who want to make it better.
Yes, and who respect our country.
Yep, and the freedom.
Yes, and they're happy to have opportunities and so forth. And they're not trying to undermine our philosophy and our basic laws.
They assimilate right into it and come right along with us.
Exactly.
That's why Vermont, we had a lot of Canadians come across the border to have farms and stuff like that.
Yes.
And
The people who came here in the early 1800s and late 1800s and early 1900s kissed the ground. They were so thrilled to be here.
Well, you watch some of those films that they took at Ellis Island.
I've been there.
Right. And when at Ellis Island, if you had a disease, guess what? They put you in the hospital until you were cured.
Exactly.
And then they let you loose.
And you needed to have, I believe, you needed to
sponsor.
have a sponsor.
You had to
yes.
have a sponsor.
So about socialism in America. Socialism's, this is Bernie's too, fraudulent claims over the free health care, free college tuition, and free Medicare for all will bankrupt our country. Socialism will double or triple individual and corporate income taxes and still be insufficient to finance the more than $100 trillion a price tag the Socialist Democrats are proposing. We live in a free society, and socialism is a political and economic theory which advocates that the government will control our entire lives and take away our freedom. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
You want freedom, folks? You don't want a socialist in our government at all.
No.
Okay.
But remember McCarthy, he was that congressman down there, And I know a guy here who infiltrated the Communist Party in St. Albans.
Really?
Yeah. He lives in St. Albans now, but I forget where he was down. I think it was down in a bigger city. Infiltrated him for the FBI.
Oh, my.
So we implanted him because we were afraid. And I didn't find out all these judges who don't know anything about the law saying it was illegal for stuff like that. And why would a judge have anything to say about that wall going up in El Paso? It's not his
You tell
business.
me. I don't know. They think they have free reign. But speaking of judges, the president has, I'll say, nominated a number of judges. And I believe this is for like districts around the country. And I believe there are approximately 60 that the Democrats won't vote on because they don't want them. They're afraid. Just like you mentioned before we started the program about the Supreme Court.
Right.
The Democrats are now worried because there are one more Republican than there is Democrats.
Conservative people.
Yes, one more conservative than the liberals on the Supreme Court, for a total of 9, 5 plus, and 4. So now, because the Democrats are worried that there's a one more, it could be outvoted on the Supreme Court. Now they want to add how many more? 9 more?
Yeah. Well, you look at that judge out in California making rules for Illinois. I mean, it's crazy.
Oh, that's because they have
district.
a district.
Yeah, right? It's crazy. He doesn't know what's going on. He's sitting out in California. They got problems out there. You see on television, the homeless people, what they're doing out
In
there.
California?
In L.A.
Oh, it's terrible.
I mean, it's unbelievable. People are actually leaving. And another thing here, I had here, state of Vermont's paying $10,000 for people to come here. And our population is going down. I guess those people in Montpelier don't understand that more people are leaving than are coming because the population is leaving Vermont and most of the people I know when they plan on retiring, they're out of here.
I know a lot of them too. And they're good taxpayers.
Right, they're going down to North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and all those states that don't tax military money, pensions, or Social Security.
And in many of them, you don't pay a state income tax.
That's right. There's none.
And the homes are much cheaper.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the taxes and the roads are just as good, or if not better.
This state is not affordable anymore.
No. I mean, remember I showed you one time in South Carolina, you can get a driver's license for 10 years for $28.
Wow. Wow. Well, our legislators here who are in control, which is the Democrats, in big majorities in the House and the Senate, in Vermont, they never saw a program that they didn't want us to pay for. There's something for everything. And in our state population in 2010 was 625,741. In 2017, it was 623,657. So in those 7 years, we lost 2,084 people.
Yeah, and it's going down now. Because I know of some people who have left Vermont.
You can't keep forcing people to pay more and more. All of this green energy stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
the carbon tax, they keep kicking that around. I guess they don't.
The governor said he won't support it.
I hope so. Because that will drive the people out of here if they do put that in.
Absolutely.
Because we use a lot, and we don't put a whole lot of carbon in the atmosphere.
No, 1%.
Right. I said.
Of the total around the world, we
Right.
have 1%.
And I can't bring these electric cars. Who can afford an electric car? And it can't go that far. You'd have to stop and redo it.
And who's going to pay for all these charging centers around the state? This is nonsense. Anyway, there's this now. Let's grow kids. We are down to 4 minutes approximately. So now we have to provide child care centers. All right.
We wouldn't have had to do that if they hadn't put all the daycare centers out of business with all these stupid rules.
Exactly. All the regulations
Drove them right out of business.
I believe it was a big number of private daycares that went out of business. That was intentional because they want government control of the young people. You have indoctrination in the rest of our schools. I will say this before we lose time. A friend of mine who lives in Shelburne and whose daughter teaches in Essex told me that the Essex town school where her daughter teaches just had, for Memorial Day, had someone come in, I'm assuming from the military, to show the students how to properly fold the American flag.
Right.
The teachers spoke about their family members in the military in the past and present. She said her grandchildren were beside themselves with excitement with what they were learning about our country.
Right. That's why I said they should be mandatory that they study U.S. history.
Absolutely. I'm so proud of them for doing that.
Yes, it is nice.
It's
a proper
important
way to destroy the flag.
Well, there is a proper way. In fact, I have one that burning is the way.
That's correct.
And I know the Scouts do it, the Boy Scout troop.
Yep.
Locally, and also I believe the American Legion does that
that's
too.
right.
So I have to get it to one of those groups. So any parting comments? You have about 2 minutes or so.
No, it's just that we're not going to make this country any better unless everybody out there listening gets involved and gets active in certain things and make your wants and needs known
To your legislators.
to the legislators and talk to these people and say, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And hold them accountable if they fudge on you. All right? They say, oh, yeah. And then when you find out they voted the apps away, then we need to call them out. And that's what I want to get a hold of Jay about.
Good.
It's when we find out that something happened, we'll call them out.
Okay, one last thing.
Go ahead.
Social Security is not a welfare program.
No.
It is an earned benefit. And we are being double taxed on it. We paid taxes on that money when we earned it, and now they're taxing it on us when we spend it. That is wrong.
I'm with you, sister.
Okay, brother. So, it's always fun to have you on. We have so many things to talk about, but we're trying to make sure that the folks out there have a grasp on what's going on and know how important they are to the future of this country, whether it be teaching your children about our country and teaching them personal responsibility and, giving them jobs and having high expectations and respecting our military and reaching out to those in Congress, in Washington, and here in
Well, I write Bernie, and I also write to Pat. Things
I get form letters back.
I know, but it makes me feel good when I say, because I asked about the Electoral College, why he thought it was a good idea to get rid of it. And anyways, but just get out there because
that's a topic for another time.
I make it a point. In 1963 was the first time I could vote. And I haven't missed an election since, no matter what. Even town elections, I make it a point.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I do too. It's a right and a responsibility. Folks, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Have a great week ahead. Again, all of you veterans, we love you and thank you so much, and active duty as well. I'll see you again next week. Good night.